Welcome back to Great Day. He's worked for presidents, made an impact on Houston's civil rights movement, built homes, owned part of the Astros, and has ridden the Saltgrass Trail Ride more times than anyone. Finally, at 90 years old, Welcome Wilson decided to share some of his experiences in a book, Always Welcome, 9 decades of great friends, great times, and mostly great deals. I sat down with him recently to find out more.
Let's start with where the name Welcome came from.
The doctor told my parents I would be a girl, so they had a girl's name picked out. My brother, older, already had my father's name. So I surprised my parents and the doctor by being a 12-pound boy.
Wow!
So the doctor folded his bag and left. I was born at home, the custom of the time, 90 years ago. And and they started discussing what to name the boy. So 3 days went by. Now they're arguing about what to name the boy. A week went by. 2 weeks went by. 3 weeks went by. They're still arguing.
You still have no name. You're the boy with no name.
My father arrived home from work 22 days after I was born and said, why don't we name him Welcome so he'll know he's welcome though he's not a girl.
Aww,
and that's what they did.
So cool. So that is the real name. What were your earliest memories of life growing up?
When I was 3 years old, my earliest memory was on a Pullman train coming from El Paso to Corpus Christi. And I remember looking out the window from the lower bunk with my mother. I was 3, and seeing all the telephone poles whiz by the train. Mm-hmm. That's my earliest memory.
Yeah. Houston was a different time by the time you entered into the business world. If we went back in time to when you were a child and said, when I grow up, I want to be, what would your answer have been as a young boy?
Probably a newscaster, because that's what I was when I was...
See, you see how he said that? He was looking over here,
yeah.
Because this is a man who doesn't just have one job in his life. He has all kinds of jobs. You ended up in business. It's something that your personality and that your brain certainly did well. And you had to balance the vision of hard work and homework all at the same time. That was something that is the principle even still today. But you were very successful in business. Real estate, one of the things that you were in.
I've been a real estate developer 61 years.
And Houston has changed so much. You're a big part of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. You've ridden that Saltgrass Trail Ride how many times?
52 years. And I'll be back there again this year. It'll be my 63rd year.
Wow, okay, so with real estate and rodeo, I have to ask this question. What should we do with the Astrodome?
It would be so short-sighted to tear the Astrodome down. I was there when we built the Astrodome. I'll never forget a survey taken of Houstonians.
Yeah.
53% said that when they took down the superstructure, the roof would cave in. And so when we finished construction of the Astrodome, and we started taking down the superstructure, 1 foot down, the roof came with it. 2 feet down, 3 feet. It was 11 feet before the roof stopped coming down.
Yeah.
And then, fortunately, it stayed up. But you know, they tired the Alamo in 1904 was owned by a private developer, and he was going to tear it down and build an office building.
Wow.
And fortunately, it was saved.
Yeah.
But the point is, in 1903, it wasn't old enough for people to think about how historic it is.
Right.
If you ask somebody from London about what's special about Texas, they'll mention the Alamo and the Astrodome.
Yeah, the eighth wonder of the world, the
Yeah.
Astrodome, yeah, which is so iconic here and such an example of ingenuity here in the whole bit. Welcome, you've always been that kind of guy who bridged the gap between all races, all religions, the whole bit. There was a time in Houston when they were going through the whole struggle of desegregation where the leadership came to you and said, help us. And one of the things that you helped to do was kind of soften the transition when lunch counters had to open up and allow African Americans to come in and sit at their lunch counter.
Deborah, all across the South, there had been riots about lunch counter sit-ins. Riots. People were killed. People were jailed. And it was just terrible. In Houston, the business community has always come together to solve problems.
Yeah.
So the mayor called me and said, some very well-dressed African Americans from Texas State College of Negroes, now TSU, were catching the bus downtown and sitting at lunch counters to be served, and they weren't served. So the mayor called me and said, welcome, come down and help me do something. So I went down and I called a meeting of all of the 8 property owners who had lunch counters downtown, Walgreens, Rexall, Foley's, and others, and to get them to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Well, 2 hours later, they were still arguing. So then I turned to Bob Dundas, who was a vice president of Foley Brothers, and he kind of took the lead. And he said, look, guys, this is coming. We've got to do it. If we all do it the same day, it won't be a problem.
Yeah. Just get it done.
And so that's what they did. So they agreed, everybody agreed that the next Monday at 12 o'clock, everybody would be served. So I called the leader of the movement at TSU and told him to bring enough people down to sit at all 8 lunch counters. And I called the 3 newspapers, the Houston Press, the Daily Press, and the Post and the Chronicle, and asked them not to play it up. I said, you can run a story, but run it in the back pages. No banner headlines.
Yeah. Things are going to run smoothly. Don't fuel a fire that's not there.
And there were 2 TV stations at the time, so I called both of them and asked them to play it down. Yeah. Everybody agreed. Yeah. Now that wouldn't happen today, by the way.
Well, but yeah, you're exactly right. And things went smoothly. And again, Houston was that example that we still have today, as we saw like after Harvey. We have a couple of people in the audience this morning. We have Paula and Laverne. And Paula is there in the black and gold, and she came up to say hello to you before the show started. Yes. Because Paula, she actually worked at your house and got herself through college and got your master's degree, didn't you? So amazing, amazing.
Paula is great. Paula is great.
Yeah, and you in turn, you've worked for presidents. How many people can say that? They've worked for presidents and done things as well. All right, in writing this book, what is it that you want the reader to get from this book?
Well, 2 things. One is that the Houston business community solves problems.
Yeah.
In Houston, we do things differently. It started with Jesse Jones. In the Great Depression, 2 banks were about to fail. So Jesse Jones called all the banks in Houston together in his office and made them bail out the 2 banks. Houston has solved problems forever by coming together.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do.
Yeah, and that's what this book shows. It shows that you can have tough times, but tough times sometimes create community, don't they? And here in Houston, we're an example of that.
And the second thing is the University of Houston, which has been my passion. I've always said my 4 passions are my God, my family, my country, and the University of Houston.
Yeah. But University of Houston is such a cool school right now. They're doing such great things. I went to UT, but I'll get my PhD at U of H. How about that? Can you put in a good word for me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. If it comes from Welcome Wilson, I think I'm in, right? And then I'm going to end with this. We don't have royalty here in Houston, but you're close to it, and you're going to be coronated by the Heritage Society.
Well, I've been selected to be king of. It's called Notutsa. It's Houston spelled backwards. And in 1898, in 1989, and 1900, they had this tradition of the Heritage Society. And Jesse Jones was king one year.
Well, you're in good company, and you deserve to be king. So welcome. Let me just say to you, happy trails to you until we meet again.
Welcome Wilson's book, Always Welcome, 9 Decades of Great Friends, Great Times, and Mostly Great Deals, is available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and the publisher brightskypress.com.